guys got to hear from Tad back at our leadership conference in the spring. And so I'm not going to go through a whole bio introduction. So I thought we would just start out by asking you, Tad, to share, if you want to, before I go into the Q&A, if you want to share anything, your thoughts, anything you'd like to kick us off with.
Yes, as a matter of fact. It's invariably challenging to have a first real conversation like this with people that you haven't met face to face. It introduces all sorts of complexities, and so it's probably worth my spending a minute to say a little bit about what I hope to accomplish here, and also to give you a lens through which to view some of my comments. First of all, we are, and sometimes it may not always seem this way, 100% committed to our partnership with our franchisees. And I am. That means I am also. Number two, people that know me would probably say I err on the side of being fairly direct, and sometimes very direct. If you know me, you have a way of putting that in context. Since most of you don't know me, if I say something today that is seemingly direct and it comes across a little bit more than just direct, comes across as blunt, I apologize in advance. It is not intended that way. There are also going to be some things I think that you will appreciate from what I say. I certainly hope so, because it's going to say a lot of good things about you. And there'll probably be some things today that I say that you're not particularly wild about. On those, in that latter bucket, please just remember what I said, which is I'm direct, and I'm coming direct out of respect for our franchise partners. I'll be telling you things today that if I were in your shoes, I'd want to know. And some of them I might not necessarily like if I were in your shoes. Hopefully many of them you will like. And so maybe that's the context I want to start with, just to give you a little bit of insight on how to think about what I say, because I'm going to go through all the questions, and some of them are quite direct. We try to go through all the questions that if I were where you were, that I would want to know. And I'll answer them very directly, but it's coming from a place of having respect for you. So thank you for letting me say a few words.
Thank you. So now that you're rounding out your first year with HCA, what are some of your observations?
Well, first of all, I would say I have a tremendous amount of admiration for HCA, both our partners and also the corporate team, for honestly providing care and keeping our people and our clients as safe as one could reasonably expect under the circumstances. It has been an extraordinary period of time that honestly we wouldn't really wish it on ourselves, and we wouldn't wish it on anybody else. And it's been a time of challenge and frankly peril. The fact we don't think about it so often as being perilous is in part because we and you have done such a good job at keeping people safe. So that's been a striking thing that in the day-to-day rush with caregiver shortages and constant pressures, we don't tend to pause, step back, and reflect on it. And so that has been really a profoundly important thing. So, it reminds me, when we think about health, I have to pivot. One other thing I wanted to say. Michelle, thank you for inviting me to this event. As you probably know, we have a sales conference next door. And it reminded me, and it'll be clear in 1 minute why I pivoted to this. I've never really experienced going to the gym at 5 in the morning and being surrounded by people that look huge and strong, and it's full. I've never been to a place where there at least recently, where there's more camouflage than masks. It's quite remarkable. And this morning, I decided I'm going to go to the gym a little later. I'm going to do it at 6 because maybe it'll be a little less of the 4 a.m., 5 a.m. crowd. And I'm there, and like, oh my God, these people are heroes. They jump out of planes, they save people's lives. I mean, they're an incredible bunch. And I'm watching this crowd as I'm working out and pretending like I'm lifting something heavy. And there's this one guy, and I couldn't believe it. he was doing burpees. Do you know what burpees are? You drop to the ground, jump up, drop to the ground, jump up. And he kept doing them. Now, I could probably get 2 out, and 3, I wouldn't have made it to this talk. And I'm like, this is an unbelievable situation. And guess what? It was the franchisee from Chicago. So as I scanned the room, I saw him, and suddenly I just pivoted. Oh my gosh, I have to share that story with you. So, that's what I said. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it.
And that's how you get fired up, is your attitude.
I gotta tell you, it was really something.
That is. So, I'm gonna bring Scott up later to do some burpees.
Oh, wow.
Here.
It was an impressive show, I have to say.
So, what do you see as our biggest successes? What do you see as our biggest opportunities?
So the biggest success, I think, is the one that we just talked about. The biggest opportunity for me is we're really going to have to start getting very creative and very clever about how to differentiate our ability to attract terrific caregivers, and then give them the tools, and more importantly, the people behind the caregivers, the people that support them in our efforts, frankly us, also better tools to measure the effectiveness of our outcomes. It's very easy to measure the effectiveness of revenue. It either goes up or doesn't. It's very easy to measure the effect of the financial return on the revenue, but finding really strong tools to put ourselves into the care experience and understand that it's being effectively and well delivered is a very challenging thing. We wrestle with it. We're working on multiple different tools right now, but it's really one of these things where we are, it's much easier to measure the inputs, training, the amount of time, prior experience with caregivers, than it is actually to measure the direct care. We're working on some surveys there, and that's, but it's work. But it's really necessary if we want to be, I think, at the level of performance that we all want to be.
Gotcha. So what is your view of the franchise network?
Well, I'll start with a comment that I recently made. First of all, the franchise network, certainly in every month that I've asked the question, which has been a lot of months, right, has grown faster than the corporate network, materially faster. Now, the corporate operations are generally much larger, and so I haven't done a like-for-like comparison, but I am incredibly impressed at the entrepreneurial growth of the franchise operation. And that is, and by the way, the point sometimes I kind of hold it over the corporate side. Why are they growing so fast? Let's find out what they drink and give it to these people. And that's been really, really profoundly valuable, and I'm impressed. I will also say that another sort of way to judge it is it's no secret that we have bought a number of franchisees, and we can talk more about that in a minute. The executives who are our former franchise owners also happen to be very often the most outstanding executives in our company. The people that not only are the ones that are leading our performance, but also the ones that I rely upon for trusted advice when I'm afraid somebody won't tell me what's really what. And that speaks a lot to the tremendous franchise network that we have here. So those are the kinds of things I think about when I think about the franchise network, and I'm impressed. I don't actually have a but or coming, literally not. Yes, there are instances sometimes where we don't agree, and I'm sure there will be more of those. And there are things sometimes where we fundamentally have a different point of view, and there certainly will be those. But it's my core on the franchise network is we respect them. Thank you for the question.
I really felt that the timing of being able to have Tad to address all of you and to go through a Q&A was really apt in that earlier today, the corporate offices have made an announcement. Now, it's not an announcement that's going to impact the franchise offices directly, but I do think that it's something that we want to make sure that everybody is in the know about. So the company offices will be going through a rebrand, including a name change, and this is going to happen over the next 3 to 6 months. The company-owned home care assistance offices will now be called The Key.
So let's talk about that. First of all, the crucial thing about this is nothing's happening tomorrow. Nothing's happening next month. Nothing's happening the month after. Nothing will be happening until the first part of the year. We made the announcement specifically this morning, because I knew I was going to be visiting and speaking with all of you, and I also knew I was going to be visiting and speaking with the sales force. So even though we will have no public announcement for 90 days or more, I didn't want to have a situation where I come talk to all of you, and then a month or two from now, I drop some potentially startling announcement in a way that you don't get an opportunity to understand what we're doing. And then I just thought that's a good example where I didn't think that would be respectful. So instead, what I'm doing is letting you know, and we'll go through the details of it in just a minute, letting you know exactly what we're doing, exactly what we've announced, exactly how it will affect you, and we'll go through that. I think she's got a series of fairly detailed questions on it. But that's the point. We're gonna, and the headline of this is very simple, which is our corporate opportunities are growing and diversifying. And we think that we need a brand that will be more versatile and stretch over more than just home care. So we're going to be defining a new brand. It's called The Key. You'll learn more about it if and when you want to. It does not require any change on the part of Home Care Assistants. We remain fully committed to the Home Care Assistants brand for our franchisees. It won't entail any cost for you, and we can talk more about that. But it gives you at least 90 days to reflect on it, and if you have any points of view, to share them with us, and we'll give you more to know about that. Okay.
So why The Key?
Well, it's literally just what I said. We wanted to be able to come up with a brand that we could define, and also that could stretch beyond our traditional home care business in various ways. We also found, and this is what I call secondary, we like it. It tests very well. Our clients like it, the ones we tested it with. We think it can be a versatile and exciting brand for us.
I think you kind of touched on this, but I'll ask it anyway. How will the rebrand affect the franchise office?
It won't at all. There's no cost to any of you. There's no change. We continue committed to the Home Care Assistants brand for the franchisees. And by the way, let me be clear. When we sign contracts with all of you, we make promises that we're keeping. Period. That's it. If you hear anything that I say up here that strikes you as, I don't think I remember that is in my contract, your contract overwrites what I say up here. We're keeping our promises.
Will the franchise offices have an opportunity to convert to The Key?
We don't at this time plan to do that because we don't want to impose any cost on them, and and then we didn't want to have to deal with one group that wanted to do it and others that don't. So we're just going to support Home Care Assistants, and that's the plan going forward.
How will the name change benefit the franchise offices?
I don't think it will have any effect at all. I mean, as I said, we're fully supportive of the Home Care Assistants brand for the franchisees, and it should be no effect whatsoever.
What will happen to the corporate website?
Yes, the corporate website, we will change The Key. Now, there are two things to keep in mind about this. When you look at the sum total of activity for the franchisees coming through our website, hold on to your seatbelt. It is less than 1%. It's teeny tiny. So we think we need to have a nuanced approach to make sure all the redirects are there, and we will go through that and we'll test it in the next 90 days, and we'll make sure everything's solid. And we'll also make sure that the Home Care Assistants brand on the way through and the redirect is clear as a bell and concrete, but we don't think it will have any effect at all. What we do think, though, is it will be very incumbent upon franchisees to continue their already obviously good work on their own websites. That'll be crucial.
Beyond the new brand, how do you see corporate and franchise leveraging each other?
Well, I think that this invitation and this opportunity to speak with the franchisees is an excellent first step. I think there is a lot of communication in this direction. I think the next conversation should be a lot of listening on my part, and I'm excited to do that. And I think there is so communication. I would like to understand the secrets to why a lot of them are growing faster than a lot of us. I think there's a lot of entrepreneurial energy and insight and excitement here that we would benefit from. On the other hand, there are a number of processes and systems that we're putting in place that we think could potentially benefit all of you, both in terms of data insights and also potentially processes. And I'm even open-minded on things like systems. What does that mean? I'm not sure yet. We are in the middle of doing a Salesforce conversion from a 10-year-old system to a new system. We understand the Salesforce is expensive. I've repeatedly asked my colleagues, can we provide it in some way to franchisees? That's not a promise. It's just a trial balloon that I'm noodling on. There must be ways that we can provide additional value in ways that are at zero cost to us and no cost to you. But we're working on them. So I think it's sharing best practices, listening intently, communicating effectively, living up to what we said we're going to do, and beginning a mutual dialogue, and then more importantly, idea generation.
What do you expect from the franchise operators and the network?
I expect them to continue doing exactly what they're doing, running great businesses, growing, supporting our brand well, providing the energy and solutions to our care mission in places where we don't have company-owned operations and where you legally have the right to operate, and just doing a great job, being candid about things that are working for you and candid about things that aren't working for you. And that's what partnership's about. We appreciate it.
What's the plan for corporate buying franchise offices in the future?
The corporation has been buying franchisees. We have no intention necessarily of changing that. Was there a follow-up question, or was that it?
That was it.
Yeah, no, honestly, I mean, my colleague Matt Neal is here. You all know Matt Neal in corporate development. The corporate strategy is we are supportive 100% of our franchisees, and we're absolutely open-minded about any that would like to come join the corporate team.
Does the rebrand to The Key change the position on selling new franchise territories?
No, we're not interested in becoming a key franchisor, if that's the question. Yeah, let me make sure I answered all the nuances of the question. No. In addition, no, we're not interested in becoming the key franchisor. The only asterisk I would leave, and it's not an asterisk because I have an idea in my head, it's an asterisk just to leave myself a way out. It's possible overseas. We need to think it through, but that's honestly that's a trial balloon. It's not anything we've actually talked about. I hold out the possibility that there's some country where we might actually want to do it. And so I want to leave us a little room there.
All right, so will the organization under the new brand compete against a franchisee in their market?
Two things, both answers are no. No, we are not legally able to operate under the Home Care Assistance brand in any franchisee's territory. Now, under the Key brand, there's a little bit of wiggle room. However, you don't need to worry about it, and you don't need to call your attorney, because we are not going to compete under the Key brand in the home care business in your franchise territory, period.
What do you envision for the future of the home care industry over the next decade?
I think the home care industry is going to continue to grow. I think there's lots of exciting things going on with technology. You see, I mean, you constantly are seeing things like Amazon with Alexa, all sorts of telehealth, many things happening that are, they hit me in two ways. One is we're on the cusp of almost a Cambrian explosion of innovation in an area that really hasn't had a lot. On the other, it means that we need to adapt in order to thrive in this new environment. Our company is racing to make many changes that honestly Lily's incredibly excited about. At the same time, that is, whenever you're growing really fast and also developing and trying new things, some things work, some things don't work. We're in the middle of a week where we're having a tough week with some systems. So it's a perfect day to talk about that. We'll get through it, but all of that is positive. Sometimes when we don't change much or we keep doing the same thing, and I'm not saying this applies to you, I'm saying it applies to us. When we don't change much, we forget that the decision not to grow, evolve, adapt, and change actually has costs. It seems like it doesn't have costs because you're not spending anything. When you do, you incur risk, you incur sometimes difficulties, and those are tangible costs that are clear. But but not doing anything also is one that has real costs. And when you ask me a sort of aspirational, future-looking question, I think that if we are unable together to find a way to ensure that our clients have outstanding service and that we know that they have outstanding service and that it's consistently delivered, and if we can't do that at a price point that they can afford, by the way, it might be a high price point and sometimes even a very high price point, but if we can't do that, we're fundamentally leaving an opportunity for people to come in and solve that problem, because that is the great unsolved problem. If we can't consistently provide an opportunity for mom or dad to have an outstanding experience in home care, then there's an opportunity. And that, when you look 5 years, and by the way, that's what Amazon sees, that's what all these others see. They see this is high cost, the experience isn't always good, it's not consistent. When it is good, it's great. When it's not consistent, it's challenging. So.
How much do you see technology playing a part in some of those solutions?
So I won't speak for franchisees because I don't know, but I'll give you the experience from inside the company. The company has an extraordinary amalgamation of businesses that we have grown organically, businesses that we've acquired, businesses that we brought in, and it lacks some basic processes that we're building now, some basic systems that we're building now. The way we as a very innovative people, we collectively as very innovative people, adapt to the absence of processes to create informal ways to do things and to get things done, to workarounds. And so we have a lot of workarounds. They're not very efficient, and they're also not scalable, and they're also not consistent. And by the way, you see that at the point of the staffing manager, you see that at training, you see that at the client care management, you see it in operational management, you see it in payroll, you see it everywhere. All these areas where if they're not clear, consistent systems and processes that everybody understands and buys into and that are efficient, you find that you have a culture that bends around or works around the problems because we're a very innovative group. Human beings are very innovative. So because it's not scalable, because that is inefficient, we are having to gently build those systems as rapidly as possible. And all of those systems are powered by technology. In fact, I'm not saying necessarily you need a massive IT department. What I'm saying instead is even something simple like an intranet, either it's going to be robust and easy and people will use it, or it's sort of clunky and there's nothing on it anybody wants to see and they won't see it. Interestingly, speaking of communication, it's interesting that we don't actually have an intranet or an extranet where we communicate. That's the easiest thing in the world to build. It just hasn't been built. So those are examples where there's technology where we can actually communicate that will, I think, further both solve the underlying opportunity that we have, which is to ensure that every single experience with us on the part of a client is outstanding, consistently so, but also that we're growing and innovating in ways that make a lot of sense. So technology is a core aspect of it, but we don't even have to go to Alexa in the home and telehealth and all the other things. We're just talking about basic stuff. Another one, how about just having a client have the ability to pay on the phone? I mean, we do this every day, can't do it with us yet.
Those are my questions. So
Well, we can open it up.
yeah, we can open it up.
Anybody have questions? In the back, in the red,
Russell,
and then pink,
do you mind bringing the mic around?
or I'll repeat it if you like. Go ahead.
I just wonder if you're purchasing franchises and the growth of the franchise group, I mean, basically, we're dying to slow down. So what's the plan for the slow down? I mean, what type of support do we see going forward? How long will the support be there?
Well, the support will be there, as I said, because we're keeping the promise that we kept to you when we signed a franchise agreement. I respectfully disagree with your characterization of the dinosaur image, because you all are growing at what, 19 to 20%? 27?
27.
It's 27 last time I looked. That is not a dinosaur. That is more like a gazelle or a cheetah. So if you guys keep growing at 27%, and good things are going to happen.
But if we can keep losing franchisees, I mean, we lost 36. If next year at this meeting, we lost another 36, I mean, ultimately we come down to near zero. So, yeah. So it is a diminishing.
Well, it's hard for me to dispute your math. So, and did you have a follow on?
It's a different question. If a corporate owns a office in a territory now that's not under the home care assistance name, will that
Or the key name?
So my question was, will it change to the key name, or will they still run independently under the name that they ran when they were purchased?
Yeah, our current view is that if we purchase a property inside a home care assistance franchise under a name other than home care assistance, we will not change it over to the key. Because, as I said, we are committed to not doing that. So that's the current view. By the way, current isn't meant to be a placeholder for an opportunity to change. We're just saying that's actually how we view it right now. And we're not seeking to change it. I'm not making a plan to change it. I'm making plans to plan to change it. That's just where it is. The gentleman, yes, or sorry, Peach.
Yeah, thank you. So we've had a pretty challenging year this year. I think
27% is challenging. It's a high-class problem. Congratulations.
the challenge comes not from the pandemic. The challenge doesn't come from staffing issues. The challenge comes from operating in an environment of fear and, quite frankly, undue uncertainty. And this is based on threats made by corporate for forced takeovers.
For what?
For forced takeovers, forced buyouts. Other stories that I've heard as well of, undue or sorry, there's some words here. Threats of being in default as well, some franchisees. And so as a franchise owner, I sit back and say, is my investment of my time, my money, my passion, my long hours, is that going to be taken away? And I've tried to pursue this question, as Michelle knows, with corporate for months on end, and nobody will give me the courtesy of giving some feedback based on some explicit threats. And I guess my question to you is, am I going to be able to run my franchise 3 or 5 years from now? I still have 5 years left on my agreement.
Do you remember when I began this by saying I'm occasionally a direct individual, and I'm going to cut? So I want you to remember that part as I answer the following sentence. It depends on a mixture of several things. First, your agreement, because when you signed it, there were certain clauses in there that gave us certain rights, and we're not going to waive the rights, and nothing I'm going to say is going to waive the rights. And second, it's going to be also a question of, is the timing right from your perspective and our perspective? And if it is right from our perspective and not your perspective, we're going to have a disagreement. And if it's right from your perspective and not our perspective, we may have a disagreement. And beyond that, I really can't comment. What I can comment on, though, is if there are specific behaviors that I or anyone on my team is doing that creates a problem, T. Smith at Home Care Assistance, I encourage you to email me or call me.
I'll do that. As an owner, we understand we signed an agreement, when the agreement gives corporate right to take over our franchise. If we don't agree, we understand 21.9. But only a reasonable person would only sign that agreement if they had a reasonable expectation of being able to see their investment through. We no longer have a reasonable expectation of that, and so we'd like to see some clarity. So I think I will email you so we can get more specific. with
You're
it.
welcome to email me.
And I would appreciate a response back.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, by the way, is there anybody that's emailed me that I haven't responded to? First of all, you, what was the email?
The email was about, and it's a question I've asked, I'll need to interrupt this question.
Well, I think he's finished, so go ahead.
Okay, so you're not going to compete with the, I'm sorry, I'm Roberto Cohen with the Chicago operation. You said you're not going to compete with the key in the markets in which we currently have franchise protection.
Including Chicago.
And you said you are not going to convert, but you are going to continue to look for acquisitions. And my question to you, because we found that your team was pursuing acquisitions or affiliations with our competitors in our market without notification to us. So I understand you won't compete with the Key brand, and you won't compete with Home Care Assistance brand in our franchise markets. But are you interested and will you be pursuing acquisitions and retaining a third-party name to compete with us in our franchise markets?
Yes.
You have a right to do that which you wish, and which is legal. I would say that that is in direct contradiction to the spirit with which we entered the franchise.
I understand perfectly your comment, understand perfectly your point of view, and respect it completely. By the way, without a footnote, full stop, I completely understand where you're coming from. Got it.
And that was my email to you where this happened.
I also apologize that I did not email you back personally. I think I know what happened to it, and it's still on me. There's a woman right behind you that also has a comment.
I'm Lori from Columbus, Ohio.
Hello.
Hello.
Your hand went up quickly on the answer to that last one.
Well, because it's crap. Because it's crap. And here's one of my biggest concerns is you have a distinct advantage because you have access to every one of our caregivers, our clients, many of us referral sources. We were smart enough a couple of years ago not to put our referral sources in ClearCare because we knew this could happen. So we keep ours in a separate database so you guys can access it. But you could come into my market and contact every one of my caregivers for sure. In this competitive industry, that's a very distinct possibility. So what is there to protect the relationship we once had and show us respect for the businesses we built? To your point,
I do have it still.
Oh, well, more than respect then. We need the certainty that we're going to be able to continue with our livelihood without the threat of a really brutal takeover because you have information, you have access, you have so many things we don't have. And if you're going to do that, many of us would sell at a fair price, more than a fair price actually, to from your team right now who has been approaching us with less than remarkable offers. So I just think that the advantage you have puts you guys in a legal position. We just don't have the money to fight some. That's the reality of it. So you got to think about what you're doing to us, I hope.
I hear you. And by the way, I understand you, and I will reflect on what you said. And if you want to follow up, as I said, by an email or a further call on it, happy to do that.
Reflect right now.
I am reflecting right now. I'm thinking about it. I certainly am not going to give you a quick, glib, pat answer because you've raised a lot of complex issues. By the way, in a understandably provocative way that I understand completely, and I think for me to answer now is not very thoughtful. So I'm going to reflect on it. But I hear you. I understand every aspect of what you said. I also understand your characterization of it. I got it. Loud and clear.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Warren from Happy to be New Mexico. And I'm wondering, I don't think anyone's asked this, or if they have, please forgive me. Do you intend on honoring any franchise renewals for the next 3 to 10 years?
I didn't hear the question, sorry.
Is it your intent that you will renew any of the franchise agreements for the next 3 to 10 years?
Oh my gosh, well, it's because I haven't even thought about that question. So I'm going to be not answering that here because I literally haven't even thought about it. If the fact that I haven't even thought about that question is information to you, then you may have an answer. Well, I'm not sure you do because as I said, I haven't thought about it, but that's all I can say.
Well, I will just jump in and let you know that we are in the process of going through renewal with Scottsdale right now. And, you know, we've disclosed they're going to renew. So that's what's happening right now. Serena?
Hi, it's Serena from Edmonton. I understand the legal aspects of it. I've been in home care for about 30 years now, so I've seen all ranges of care. My concern is that I've been in the corporate world and I've been on the organic floor as well. When it comes to seniors, persons with disabilities, and children with disabilities, which is really the market that we're serving, it's about people first. And I think this conference is about people first. Whenever corporate comes in, it's almost like disattachment from the people side of things. How are you going to continue to keep people first when there's a corporate image first before the organic relationship?
Well, the reason I'm pausing for just a minute is because I very respectfully disagree with your premise. Your premise is that we don't put people first. You can disagree, but I understand, respect that. I disagree with your premise. What you're seeing is pause to reflect on how to tackle that. I'd like to answer your question, but note that I respectfully disagree with your premise. Okay. Just in the last few months, we have begun to roll out significant new benefits for caregivers. We've begun to expand the opportunities for our own internal staff in a number of ways. We've just redone the benefits. We've also begun to think about robust ways to make sure that our client service is excellent, both in immediate 3 and 4 and 4 week surveys. All of those things have become at significant cost to us, but we're committed to doing it because it's the right thing to do, and we're going to keep doing it. So that's why I say I understand where your question is coming from. I respectfully disagree with the premise, but even despite that, those are some of the things. Now, listen, I'm not blind to the fact I'm the CEO of a company who's standing before you, giving you some news, some of it neutral, some of it obviously not particularly good, and that will require you reflect on it. But I just ask you please to go back to the first thing I said, which is I'm here fundamentally to tell you exactly what is happening with the company, and some of that you may like and some of that you may not like, but I appreciate your listening. Thank you. Unless there's any other question, I'll thank you all for being patient with me and asking me very direct and heartfelt questions.
Thank you very much, Tad. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you all.